So here's another Tidbits from the Road, episode number 8. And this is the Model 3 predictions episode. So let's strap in for some of this. Coming to you from a super dreary day on I-71 North this morning. So, we got 4 more days to wait until Model 3 is officially in the world. So, what is that Model 3 going to have eventually? So, I'm not talking about, we already know the feature set's going to be limited from the start, but what's basically going to be announced on Friday as what Model 3 will be once we achieve production ramp? That's what we're going for here. We're not talking about, the people that are going to get their cars in a month, what they're going to see, because we know that's going to be completely different than the full production ramp. I got a couple interesting thoughts on this, so let's dive on in. So first up, we got battery pack. Now, this has already been discussed from here until the cows come home for the most part, but I figure it's worth mentioning, and I mentioned this for some time. My original prediction was that we get a 55 and a 75 based on what Tesla had said, that the low pack in the car would not be a 60, it would be under a 60 kilowatt hour pack. But that seems to have gone by the wayside. I think we're going to get two options. You're going to get a 60 kilowatt hour pack and a 75 kilowatt hour pack. And it's already been discussed by Elon that there will be a performance model with a ludicrous version. But how fast is the ludicrous version of the Model 3 going to be? Because we've already found out that the base rear-wheel drive model is going to do 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds. And we see that the Model S and Model X just got some performance bumps to 0 to 60 in 4.2, at least in the Model S's case, with all-wheel drive. And that's important since they just told us that they are going to discontinue rear-wheel drive only Model S's. So we're going to stick with the standard on Model S being 4.2 seconds going forward. So I believe that your ludicrous Model 3 is going to be in the low 3s. I don't think it's going to break into the 2s, because then that would be putting it even with or better than, in the case of the Model X, its flagship cars. And the Model 3 is not meant to be a flagship car. The S and the X are our flagship cars here. So if I had to put a number on it, I'm betting your ludicrous Model 3 is going to do 0 to 60 in 3.2. Still, well, I guess, now come to think of it, Elon did say it's going to be ludicrous mode, and I nearly just said, maybe not ludicrous, but maybe insane. Maybe that's another one that they kind of go back on and say, no, it won't have ludicrous, but you will get insane. Because I'm kind of with Ryan McCaffrey from Ride the Lightning. Ludicrous deserves to be an under 3 second designation. So we'll see what we get. But I think regardless of what they call it, you're going to see 3.2 seconds as the top end of the Model 3 with its performance plus whatever designation it gets for the extra performance. So, options. Let's talk about the interior options, because we just got a huge change on Model S and Model X where basically individual options are kaput. As you may or may not know, if you've been listening to the show or if you've been getting your Tesla news anywhere, the premium upgrades package has been completely revamped, and a lot of things actually got made standard on Model X and Model S now. The things that got made standard that may or may not surprise you, we've got Smart Air Suspension is now a standard feature on all Model S and Model X. Your cornering lights, so when you make a turn and it gives you kind of a little illumination to the side that you're turning to, that's now a standard feature. These little guys, these little ambient lighting in here, is a standard feature now, and the lit door handles are now a standard feature. So that's all rolled out standard. That used to be a part of Premium Upgrades package. Premium Upgrades package is now basically every other interior feature that you used to be able to get separately. So Premium Upgrades package is now the Sub-Zero package, the Premium Sound package, XM radio option. Of course, you got to have the pano roof to do that, and it retains the bioweapon defense mode. And then on the Model X, all of that and the self-presenting doors is part of that option. So, and you got to add the extra $1,000 for that option on Model X. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I predict that Model 3 does not have a Premium Upgrades package. None of that will be features on Model 3. I know that's a disappointing thing, and I cringe even saying it, but again, this is supposed to be the mass market car, and in order to get these things out and to differentiate from Model S and Model X, I think all of this is going to be left on the cutting room floor, and you're just going to get the straight car minus, I mean, if you think about it, the Sub-Zero package, you're not missing out on a ton, because all it really does is give you the heated steering wheel, the windshield washer heaters, and butt heaters for the folks in the back. You're still going to have seat heaters for the folks in the front, like almost any other car out there anymore. So that's not a huge deal. Having sat in, this car does not have the premium sound, and having sat in a car that does have the premium sound, I'm going to admit I don't have the ear that audiophiles out there are going to have, probably, but I didn't notice a difference between the packages. So if I had ordered that on a brand new car and then got my car delivered and then had a loaner that maybe didn't have it and heard the loaner, I think I would have been really upset about that. Now granted, it's going to be nice that you get the upgraded sound with the Premium Upgrades package now, but again, I don't think that's going to be a thing that you're going to miss on Model 3 not having it. And then lastly, XM, that one might be a bigger deal to some folks, but for reasons listed later, I don't think it's going to be as big a deal, because I think Tesla is going to position the company and this car as being even more technology than the prior cars. So let's get to the tech on the car. And let's start with this little stalk right here, which currently is my drive stalk. As we already know, it looks like the Model 3 is not going to have a dedicated autopilot stalk, because the autopilot icon now appears on the drive stalk. So that leads many to question, how is this thing going to operate? And going back to what I kind of mentioned a little bit before, I think technology is going to be the answer on this, and specifically that 15-inch touchscreen that's going to be just a few inches to the right of that stalk. I think what you're going to get is the stalk enables autopilot just the same way that double pulling the cruise control stalk gives you autopilot now. I think double tapping the drive stalk is going to give you autopilot the way that you got it on the cruise stalk. But now, many have been asking, how are we going to control the speed once we're in it? Since we don't have a dedicated stalk, we don't have an obvious way to do this. Firstly, I don't think the drive stalk is going to have anything to do with autopilot after you enable it. I think that's strictly going to be what you've got there. What's going to happen, I think, and I can't show it to you here, but you've got this menu button here that you can tap, and that menu button, when you tap it, then will allow you to adjust what this right scroll wheel does. And currently on Model S and Model X, you have the option to set the temperature of the car. You can manually control the fan speed for your HVAC system, the display brightness, you can control the sunroof, look at your recent calls or your contacts on your phone. I tend to keep mine on the temperature. I think it's the most useful thing that I've got there. I think one of your options there is going to become your cruise control speed. And if you don't want to use, kind of lock that right scroll wheel in that way, I think the second option that you're going to get is when autopilot is enabled, on the right, on the Model S, I have my screen in front of me here that shows me the autopilot. We've already seen the autopilot when it's engaged is going to be on kind of the left side of the Model 3 screen there. I think somewhere on that little area, if cruise control or autopilot's enabled, you're going to see an increase, decrease speed button on there. Because, I mean, I can't tell what exactly is in frame here, but the distance from your right hand here to that screen is not much. And it looks like they pulled the screen forward, unlike the Model S here, where I got to kind of lean forward a little bit to get to my screen. It looks like they pulled that forward a little bit, so just touching the screen is going to be a very natural thing to be able to do. So there's my prediction on how autopilot and TAC works. It's going to be on the screen, and you're going to get the option to control it from the right scroll wheel. So more tech now, and this one has been one that's come up here recently, and that is, for Model S and Model X, I've got this little guy that is the fob for the car that lets you do things. But we've not seen any of that for Model 3. In fact, it looks like we've more seen what appears to be kind of like a hotel entry card as being how you access Model 3. We don't have any confirmation on that. We just got a lot of reasonable speculation on it because we've seen these little cards with people that are in the car, or it's been in the car, that are labeled Model 3, or a little folio that is labeled Tesla that probably has this card in it. And many have speculated, and I believe this is true, that this card is an access mechanism for the car. Now, me and Twitter user Doc Dave, that'd be David Sell, who's one of the Patreon folks out there, and thank you for your support, David, had a really fun chat on Twitter last night, going back and forth, and in that discussion, he proposed that, let me step back one, we were talking about there's no buttons on this card, and so how would you open the trunk if you wanted to pop the trunk? Well, the answer is, at least on Model S, you don't need the fob to pop the trunk. It's nice if you want to remotely do it, but as long as the fob is in range, there's a button underneath the trunk there. You tap the button and the liftgate lifts. But there's no mechanism for this on the front. And that's what I was kind of putting out there is, hey, everyone's talking about how do you pop the trunk? You have that function exists already. What about the front? And David proposed that, hey, maybe it's like an RFID system. You just pass the card over it, and that's the end of it. And I don't believe that's going to be the case, just because two things that I think is the problem with this. First is that tech doesn't exist anywhere in the Tesla lineup right now, and we have to remember part of the mission of Model 3 is to be streamlined and quick to produce for the masses, and this is something Tesla has not done yet, and it would cause issues on the assembly line because it's something that we're not putting into all cars at this point. And the second reason of this is this little card that we've been talking about. Ostensibly, the whole point of having this card is convenience. So you can just chuck it in your wallet or your purse, you get in the car, and you go, and you don't have to think about it. But if you need that to open the front outside of using the control system, that's not very convenient. So for those two reasons, I don't think that's the case. And then he mentioned something that I think was brilliant. He talked about, well, maybe Bluetooth Low Energy via the phone app is how you'll do it. And folks, I think that's the whole answer, not just the answer for the front. My prediction is that the Tesla app for Model 3 is your entire access for the car. So you get in the car, and your app is running in the background on your phone, and that's how it knows, hey, you can start the car. And that app also is the way that you remotely unlock the car, the way that you remotely pop the trunk and the frunk. It's going to be everything. The card that we've been seeing, I believe, is the backup. So, obviously the caveat to the phone is, hey, what if A, I don't have a smartphone, or B, I don't have any battery left, or I've forgotten my phone, or I've lost my phone. If for some reason you don't have a phone. the card is the backup. It is not, I don't believe it's going to be meant to be the primary means of accessing your vehicle. The app is going to be positioned as the way it's supposed to be. And this allows Tesla to show everyone, hey, look how technology forward we are. Who needs keys? You know, you got an app for everything on your phone. An app is going to control your car now as well. So just lastly, a couple little bit of miscellaneous things that I want to throw out there. I don't think we're going to get any mention of the final reservation count. I know a lot of people really want to hear about this. I kind of do too. But it's just simply not going to happen. Elon's already made it perfectly clear that people make too big of a deal out of these types of things, for the better or the worse, and he just doesn't want that publicity out there. And so I really don't think we're ever going to know what the final reservation count was on Model 3. At least not until well after we're into production, if we ever get to see it. And the other thing that's going to happen, I think that Elon is going to end his presentation saying that the design studio is ready to go for the first batch of folks. So you'll probably be getting an email either shortly before or shortly after the presentation given by Elon, which, by the way, that's 9 p.m. Pacific time on Friday. For those of us out here on the right coast, that's midnight. Not that I'm not used to being up late, because I'm very much a night owl, but that's going to be a little bit rough for me in the morning when I got to wake up with the kids the next day. So that's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on what I believe Model 3 is going to be. If you did enjoy this show, please do give it a like on YouTube. Those likes and the subscriptions especially, if you really enjoy what you see here, very much help this channel and help it to grow, and I very much appreciate them. If you've been enjoying this show enough to want to give it a little extra support, feel free to check out the Patreon page at patreon.com/Tesla Tidbits. Thanks so much to my super patrons, as always, that are supporting me at the $10 plus a month level. Really, really appreciate you guys out there, and everyone, you'll get to see a list of those folks at the end of this video. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode. I know you guys are kind of spoiled this week. You got two almost back-to-back here. Don't get used to that. I only really want to try and put these out once a week. One, because I want to respect your time, and I don't want to fatigue you with content here. And two, just because it would kill me to try and be doing that any more often. Doing the normal Tesla Tidbits show is work enough for me for every night. But hope you enjoyed the show. That's it for this one. Looking super forward to Friday. I cannot wait. I hope to be doing a live reaction stream at the same time as the stream for the event, assuming that they are going to live stream it, which I can't see why they wouldn't. They've streamed everything else in the past, so it would really stun me if they did not have a live stream option for this Model 3 event. It would be super perplexing if they did not. They did the Model S and Model X deliveries on a live stream. This shouldn't be any different. That's it for today. Hope you've enjoyed the show. See you Friday, and until then, keep it charged and hit the road.